In chapter 1, we open up in this dystopian place. People make babies? Nah, they're cooked up in test tubes and factory assembled like IKEA furniture. The rich alphas get all the brain power, while the bottom tier epsilons are straight up oxygen deprived in the womb, so they stay stupid. In the factories, they mass clone people using the what? The Volkanovsky process. Basically copy-pasting humans to make society run smooth. Everyone's brain is basically pre-programmed to live their boring, repetitive lives. Oh, and questioning things? Yeah, that's illegal. The whole place runs on fake happiness, shopping, and making sure nobody ever has an original thought. In chapter 2, here we have this back-crack crazy process of naturally and organically programming jits to be repulsed by nature and to not be curious towards books. They do this by basically tasing them and saying, no, nature bad. It's a glimpse inside of how the world state works. The director is seen here observing the operations like a hawk, no tua, and viewing the hypnopathic processes done on the little children. Jits are encouraged to play erotically. We meet Mustafa Mon, Super Sigma by the way, one of the alpha males, world leader. He explains how humanity is just brain dead, and we fixed it by rebooting the servers and banning art, religion, and emotions. We'll later meet a short king named Bernard Marx, an alpha who doesn't feel like an alpha. He's just a short king with no aura, and he hates the society he's in. Lenina and Fanny, baddies who are introduced, talk about our short king. In chapter 4, our short king is being made fun of by two other alphas. Bernard takes it like a good boy and walks away. Bernard's emo face is highlighted when he talks about Heimholz Watson, our glorious king. Another Sigma male who feels different, while Bernard is salty and toxic. Heimholz is just a chill guy and unsatisfied. He wants to feel something real and deep like P. Diddy. But the world only allows shallow things like Taylor Swift. In chapter 5, whilst Lenina and Henry are going on a date, over there we see the rest of the world stay prepared to participate in this massive ceremony. Its name is not really school appropriate in terms of this context, so we're gonna call it a Diddy party, where a bunch of crazy dancing, AI music, and the chanting of the school inappropriate terms circled around. Also, this dude Bernard gets distracted by Morgana's eyebrow. Chapter 6, Lenina, who's been passed around the block, most notably with Henry. Henry compares Bernard to a rhino. Lenina, who glazes Bernard despite his negative aura, convinces him to take a trip down to the trenches, the Savage Reserve, by requesting it to the director. Before leaving, Bernard's D1 hater, the director, threatens to send him to the Gulag, or Iceland, because of his devious digressional ways. However, Bernard learns an embarrassing secret. The director visited the reservation and lost his Pookie Bear, Honey Snuggly Bunny. In chapter 7, Lenina and Bernard spawn in the reservation and observe a savage aura farming. Later in the evening, they watch a savage get jumped by all his fellas. Afterwards, they meet John, who is an OG stranger in a strange land. He was dropped there by his mom when she was deployed at the battle bus after taking storm damage. Over time, John started to vibe with Shakespeare and the old headways. Bernard sees this as a way to flex on his boss and bring Linda and John to London, setting up the ultimate scammer gets scammed. Alright, I've been speaking at 100 miles per hour, so I'm just gonna slow down, change up the music, and this is where the novel starts to get a little bit more deeper. In chapter 8, Bernard and John have some little chit-chat, and he basically just vents about his past. Linda, his fat, ugly mom, being robbed by some other woman, becomes an alcoholic and loses so much aura. And John eliminates some pope dude off the face of the earth. John pulls up to the wilderness and does the Matthew 27:46. Ultimately, Bernard allows John to pull up back to the world state, and he screams, "Oh, brave new world," like a stupid monkey reciting Shakespeare. In chapter 9, Bernard 100% speedruns getting permission to take John and Linda to the west side. World state, world record. Gavin, why did you write? John feels like a bum for being left, so John does what any freak would do and learns from the top PDF file, EDP full to sneak into Lenina's room, just watching her menacingly while whispering Aunt Shakespeare's love lines. He has an emotional bust of thoughts on the game over the idea of pure romantic love. In chapter 10, back in the world state, Bernard walks into the baby-making factory with all the ore in the world. The director sees this as a big no-no and tries to outwit him by trying to banish him to the Shadow Realm. But instead, my big boy B whips out the Uno reverse card out of his pants and brings in Linda, who tries to slobber herself up with the director, causing a hysterical crash out in the facility. Even John attempts to reconcile with his deadbeat father, who left to go get the milk all these years ago. The director now has generational aura debt and resigns his sorry self out of the field. In chapter 11, John gains top G status and is nicknamed the Savage, and the alphas treat him like a human attraction. Bernard basks in the glaze he acquires, and John and Lenina go on a date to watch a very racist movie. John doesn't mess with that nonsense, so he ditches Lenina. In chapter 12, Bernard throws a massive celebrity party, Epstein's Island style, with John as the main attraction. John, still stuck on the loading screen, refusing to connect. Bernard continues to lose aura as he attempts to impress what is this? To impress the girls, the Umfi. Bernard continues to lose aura as he attempts to impress the Umfis. Then on, John and Heimholz talk about Shakespeare and start bonding over the dissatisfaction with the world state. Bernard gets quite jealous of their connection and becomes a little man baby. As we progress in chapter 13, Lenina, frustrated that she's getting no game from the Savage, decides to take matters into her own hands. She tries to riz him up, but he geeks out and calls her a strumpet. which is like, I guess, the Shakespeare, or a butt, and nearly assaults her. His idea of love is completely at odds with the casual freak culture of the world state. The scene ends with Lelina trapped in the closet and John enraged. Chapter 14. John gets a phone call from the hospital informing him that his mother is dying. But instead of a peaceful passage to the afterlife, a school of Delta children interrupts the solemn moment with their death condition. The children are reciting brain rot to Linda, and she dies. John is heartbroken, but the nurse and the children don't care. The lack of empathy horrifies. For some reason, John just slaps the flip out of a child. In chapter 15, still feeling frustrated with his mother's death, John pulls out this move.
This is how you eat a Big Mac.
He throws Soma over a railing because he knows the perk was fake, and then a riot breaks. Bernard and Heimholtz rush in. Heimholtz, excited by the chaos, joins the fight while Bernard hesitates. The ops come in and spray everybody with Soma and anesthesia to calm everyone down. Bernard, Heimholtz, and John get taken into custody. In chapter 16, instead of being punished, John, Bernard, and Heimholtz get a private audience with Mustafa Mon, the world controller. Mon explains why the world state suppresses art, science, and deep emotions. Heimholtz, fascinated by the idea of struggle, willingly accepts exile to a remote island where he can finally free himself and become goated in the art. Bernard, desperate to stay, pathetically begs for mercy, but he is drugged and they send him to go lie down. In chapter 17, John and Mon continue their philosophical debate. Mon argues that happiness and comfort are more important than truth. John counters that suffering, pain, and struggle are what make life meaningful. When Mon tells him that God and real emotions were sacrificed for stability, John declares that he would rather suffer than live in a world without meaning. John claims the right to be unhappy. In chapter 18, John retreats to an abandoned lighthouse in the countryside, trying to purify himself through self-punishment. He whips or flaunts himself, causing self-damage, hoping to cleanse himself out of the world state's corruption. Reporters and curious citizens soon find him, turning his suffering into entertainment. Eventually, even Lelina appears, which pushes Johnny Boy over the edge. Overwhelmed by guilt and shame, he realizes that he'll never truly escape this reality. And then he crashes out, and he commits reset character in real life.